Let's get started. Number 6. They argue with everything. You tell a 5-year-old to stop jumping on the couch, and instead of stopping, they demand a legal justification. Why? Isn't curiosity at this point, it's cross-examination. Super smart kids treat household rules like sketchy contracts they refuse to sign without reading the fine print. This isn't defiance for defiance's sake, it's actually a sign their brain is wired for logical consistency way earlier than most. Developmental psychologists will tell you that kids typically accept authority at face value until their reasoning skills catch up around age 7 or 8. Gifted kids skip that memo. Their prefrontal cortex is out here doing pro bono legal work before they've even lost all their baby teeth. So when your kid says, "But that doesn't make sense," about bedtime, screen time, or why the dog gets to sleep on the bed and they don't, understand that you are not dealing with stubbornness. You're dealing with a tiny philosopher who smells a logical inconsistency from a mile away and simply cannot let it go. Basically, you didn't raise a rebel, you raised a courtroom drama, and you're the witness who keeps getting caught in contradictions. Buckle up, because this kid is going to fact-check your parenting for the next 18 years, and honestly, they might have a point more often than you'd like. Number 5. They ask annoying questions. Some kids ask why the sky is blue. A particularly curious kid asks why the sky is blue, why blue exists, why humans decided to call it blue, whether birds see the same blue, and whether aliens would have a completely different opinion. And somehow, you are now conducting a university lecture while trying to make breakfast. One common trait seen in intellectually advanced children is an unusually strong drive for curiosity. They don't just want answers, they want the machinery underneath the answer. Give them a fact, and their brain immediately starts digging underneath it, like a tiny archaeologist, with absolutely no respect for your free time. This can show up as endless why questions, strange hypothetical scenarios, or sudden interest in subjects far beyond what you'd expect for their age. A child might become fascinated with dinosaurs, astronomy, mathematics, languages, machines, or some bizarre combination of all four. The interesting part is that curiosity itself doesn't prove a child is exceptionally intelligent. Plenty of curious kids are simply curious kids. But when intense curiosity appears alongside unusually advanced reasoning, vocabulary, memory, or problem-solving, it can be one piece of the bigger picture. Basically, some children's brains treat every ordinary fact like a suspicious package. They don't want to know what's inside. They want to know who packed it, why they packed it, where the box came from, and whether the box has legal representation. Number 4. Obsessed with one weird thing. Some kids like dinosaurs. Highly intelligent kids can recite the Latin classification of 40 dinosaur species, explain the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, and correct the paleontologist at the museum. This is called hyperfocus, and it's basically your kid's brain locking onto one topic like a heat-seeking missile and refusing to disengage. Psychologically, this intense narrow obsession is linked to what researchers call flow state, that trance-like zone where time disappears and nothing else matters, usually reserved for elite athletes and neurosurgeons, except here it's happening over a kid who just wants to talk about trains for the 9th consecutive hour. The fascinating part is how efficiently their brain builds deep expertise this way. Instead of skimming a little bit about everything, gifted kids tend to tunnel straight down into one subject and build an entire mental cathedral out of it. It looks like obsession from the outside, but it's actually an incredibly efficient learning strategy your kid stumbled into by accident. The downside? Try getting them to care about literally anything else during dinner. You'll be sitting there talking about vegetables while they're mentally reconstructing the skeletal structure of a stegosaurus. Basically, their brain found a subject worth marrying, and now you're just stuck attending the wedding. Number 3. They make adults uncomfortable with jokes. Picture a 7-year-old dropping a perfectly timed sarcastic remark so sharp it makes the whole dinner table go silent for a second before everyone bursts out laughing nervously. That's not luck. That's neurological wiring flexing in real time. Humor involving irony, wordplay, or double meanings requires something psychologists call theory of mind, the ability to understand that other people have different thoughts, knowledge, and perspectives than you do. Most kids don't fully develop this until later in childhood, but gifted kids often get there early, which means they're cracking jokes that rely on subtext before they can even reach the top kitchen shelf. It's a weirdly advanced skill hiding inside a body that still needs help tying its shoes. This is also why smart kids sometimes seem too mature in conversation. Their vocabulary and comedic timing are operating a few grade levels ahead of their emotional regulation, which creates this bizarre contrast where they can outjoke a grown adult, but still have a full meltdown because their sandwich got cut the wrong way. Basically, You're dealing with a stand-up comedian trapped inside a toddler's impulse control system, and honestly, that combination should really come with a warning label taped to the crib. Number 2. Emotional meltdowns over tiny things. Here's the twist. Nobody warns you about high intelligence and emotional regulation do not travel together like best friends. In fact, they're often more like roommates who barely speak. This is called asynchronous development, where a kid's intellectual growth sprints way ahead while their emotional maturity lags behind, like it's still tying its shoes. So you get a kid who can debate ethics like a philosophy professor one minute, then completely dissolve into tears because their toast got cut into rectangles instead of triangles. Their brain is processing enormous amounts of information, nuance, and abstract thought, but their nervous system hasn't caught up enough to handle the emotional weight of that processing. It's like giving someone a race car engine but forgetting to upgrade the brakes. This is often mistaken for kids being dramatic or oversensitive, when really their inner world is just louder and more complex than everyone else's. Basically, their brain is out here contemplating the nature of existence while their emotional regulation system is still in beta testing, crashing spectacularly over sandwich geometry. Number 1. They get bored ridiculously fast. Imagine giving a kid a simple puzzle. They finish it. You give them another. They finish that too. Then, you proudly hand them something slightly harder, only to discover that they've already abandoned it because apparently their brain has filed a complaint about insufficient difficulty. Some intellectually advanced children become bored surprisingly quickly when a task doesn't challenge them. This isn't necessarily because they're lazy or incapable of paying attention. Sometimes the opposite is happening. The task simply isn't demanding enough to hold their attention. When something is repetitive, predictable, or far below their current ability level, their attention can wander. Suddenly, the pencil becomes fascinating, the chair becomes fascinating, a tiny mark on the wall becomes the most important scientific discovery of the century. And this is where adults can misunderstand what's happening. A bored child may look distracted, restless, careless, or even unmotivated. But intelligence doesn't automatically create perfect discipline. Your brain can be brilliant at solving complicated problems while being absolutely terrible at pretending a worksheet you've already mastered is exciting. That said, boredom isn't a reliable intelligence test. Kids get bored for thousands of reasons, including tiredness, anxiety, poor teaching, or simply being kids. Still, when a child repeatedly loses interest in easy material, but becomes intensely focused once something genuinely challenging appears, that's worth noticing. Because apparently the brain has its own minimum difficulty setting. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe.